Okay, right. What we're talking about today, I'm just going to jump straight into this one. What's on my mind? Usually when I make these videos, a thought just comes to me and I'm running with it. So, and also they have like different paces. If I'm more tired, the video is going to be a bit slower. If I've gone out for a run or something like that, I'm probably going to be a bit more energetic in the video. And then I've just been cutting them up and putting them as short form, trying out different things. Really enjoying the process at the moment, but definitely in the experimental stage of just seeing how it's going. So what are we actually discussing? The thing I wanted to discuss, and then we'll probably end up extrapolating upon, is why is it hard to let things go, right? So I've spoken before about forgiving and why it's so important to do. And specifically, let's dive into letting go, which goes hand in hand with forgiving. It essentially is forgiving. And why does it feel so hard? Why is it so hard for us to let things go? Right? It's easy for me to say forgive because it's the best thing for you. Okay. If we simplify it, forgiving is the best thing for you because we're letting go of something that we have attached ourselves to right now. So it's something that happened in the past and we let it still control us emotionally as we go forward in our lives. What we don't tend to do is let go of things that made us feel good and confident. Okay. We use them as fuel, but we similarly don't let go of things that make us feel bad. In fact, we might be worse at letting go of things that make us feel bad. It's easier to let go of things that make us feel good because we can invalidate them ourselves and tell ourselves they're not true. And, the battle of thoughts that we have going on in our head and that kind of thing. So this is kind of my way of seeing things, is the reason we don't is because it gives us a sense of control, right? So when we keep thinking about something that happened to us in the past, we feel like in some way we're controlling it. And the reality of these situations, if it's something that has already happened, you have no control over it. You have no control over anything external anyway. It might feel like you do, but that will be shattered at some point. This is the thing with external expectations and the sense of control over it could be anything external to just how you feel and how you react. It's an illusion that you control that. And you'll realize that throughout life, situations will change and you either ignore it and pretend it's not a thing and you latch on to things staying the same. One of the most fundamental things of life is that things change, right? That is what life is. You grow and you learn from experiences. But what you'll get is a lot of people who are closed-minded, they have the idea that people don't change, or if someone's done something bad, that person should never be forgiven, which is true to an extent. It depends on the severity. Has there been any evidence of change? Is it genuine? This is the difficulty with things. It's things that you sometimes can't measure, right? So someone could change completely on the inside, but how are you then going to trust that person based on their actions? Actions always speak louder than words. When we think about these things, maybe there was a moment where you felt bullied, you felt abused in some kind of way by someone else. When we latch onto that, it triggers the same emotions. If you haven't processed it and let it go, it will trigger the same emotions. Your mind and your body, you feel like you're reliving that experience, so it's still true to you, okay? When you let it go, you've processed it and you've decided to learn from that experience in some way or another, and it no longer has that power over you. The reason we want that to change is because when you're giving power to these situations that have already happened, you stop living in the present moment and you stop looking towards the future. You're not growing. You kind of lock your growth into place in that part of yourself. It doesn't mean you can't grow in other aspects of your life, but that department, you're locked into that. And any situation you're put in going forward in your life that triggers that feeling again, you're going straight back there. You're not able to confront new situations, new experiences in your life from a place of neutrality or from, maybe the place that you want to approach things from. This is extremely common. It's how we're wired to survive, right? So that's why it happens to so many people and why it's so easy to get caught up in that and not break out of this loop that keeps happening. We are hardwired for survival. That's how our brains work. That's how we emotionally operate. That's how we physically operate. We're hardwired for survival. However, we can differentiate that because of our awareness. Because we have the awareness that we're within the body. We aren't the body itself. We're observing the body. We're observing our emotions. We're observing our thoughts. You can then separate yourself from feelings and thoughts for your own benefit and your own gain, right? So if you know this is beneficial for you, it's worth going through the work, but it's not easy. It's not a fast process. It means you're going to have to deliberately take the time to sit with your feelings and sit with the sensations that occur within you when you have the thoughts about whatever it is, whether it's anxiety based, hatred based, whatever it is that you don't want to feel, you know it's not benefiting you, right? If you're thinking of something that's happened in the past and it's still triggering those same emotions, that's a sign it's something to process, okay? That's a sign to sit with it and work through it and heal and move forward, okay? Otherwise, it's going to stay latched onto you. The more of these that you have that you haven't processed, it becomes who you are. So you then let the external things that have happened to you decide who you are for you. Why is this bad? Well, you probably have things you want to do in life, right? You probably have goals and dreams and an idea of who you'd like to be. And when you don't process these things, you give that power away from yourself. You give your power away to decide what kind of life you want to have because you just react to everything with this baggage. So something triggers a feeling that makes you insecure. You then go through all of those motions that you went through from the event or the events that made you feel the insecurity. An event that made you angry, and then you experience something and all those emotions come back up and you go through that same spiral again. This is not saying you won't ever get angry or you won't ever get sad or anxious or anything like that. It's whether it's triggering a past thought, feeling like it's already been written, right? The motions you're going to go through. And once you notice that, it's really impactful because you'll realize that when these things happen, you go through the same thoughts and you're just in this loop until you break out of it. When you keep feeding that, it solidifies as part of yourself. It wires itself into your way of thinking and into your life. So this is why it's so difficult to let things go. It feels like it's a part of you. It feels like it's who we are. When you feel wronged by something someone has done to you or a situation, it might not be someone else, it could just be the world. You feel wronged by life, okay? You haven't accepted the way things are. You're not accepting reality for what it is. Reality has all sorts of different sides. It can be a beautiful, amazing, right? You can feel confident and proud, and it can be horrific and terrible. You can feel sad and depressed. That is life. That is the duality of life. That's the experience we have. And you simply cannot have one experience without the other. If we didn't have this back and forth, there would not be a good thing. What makes something good is because you can compare it to bad. If bad just did not exist, there would not be good. There would just be is. So then you wouldn't have a range to go between. And this operates on everything. I'm going back to duality again because it's true. You know, it's one of the most fundamental aspects of how things operate within this reality. These feelings we latch onto, when we feel wronged, it feels like it's a part of who we are. You think you can't let it go because it feels completely alien to let that go. If you were bullied horribly, you feel that hatred for the person that did that or whatever happened in that situation. You're like, I can't believe this happened, right? How could this happen? And it becomes all consuming. You're caught in this whirlwind of emotions and turmoil. But what is happening there? If you take yourself out of your body and watch yourself, imagine you're watching yourself sit there and go through those feelings, right? The situation happened. You had no control over it anyway. The reason you keep thinking on it now is because you're trying to control. You have even less, even if we thought we could control external things, you have even less control over it now because you keep thinking about it and thinking about it. It's a way of your brain thinking we're going to solve this. If we keep playing it back, what would I have done differently? How could I have stopped this happening? It doesn't matter. You could not have. It's done now, right? It does not matter anymore. But you keep latching onto that. The depths of the wrongdoing that we feel can be immense. They can be terrible subjectively, which makes them even harder to let go and process. You fall even further away from being aligned with yourself and what you want. You fall deeper into that pit. And this is the biggest like slap in the face of them all, right? It's been on you the whole time. It's always been on you as to when you let it go. There's no timeline. There's no actual date. You might never let it go. No one's going to come along one day and make you let it go or make you forgive that person. Experiences can help because they'll give you perspective and they can help you let certain things go. And the more you grow, time helps. But it's up to you when you decide you want to. And you can decide sooner, right? Why would you spend years of your life not having processed something that is causing you potentially daily bother, that is halting your growth daily? And it's because usually we're not aware of it. This is why it all comes back to awareness. And this is why awareness is your edge over life. You have to be aware that the thoughts and feelings that come up are not you. You don't have to go with them. You listen to them and you're aware of them. You you don't have to latch onto them, because as soon as you latch onto them, that becomes who you are. So if your brain is racing with thoughts and you always latch onto your thoughts, you're going to become someone who's anxious because you latch onto anything that pops into your mind. If a feeling arises and it's horrible and you're not able to go, oh, that's arisen because of this, this thing happened, so now I'm feeling this emotion, that's fine. You don't try and escape it. You're aware of it and you sit there with it and you just feel it out, okay? You're aware of the thoughts that come up. You don't latch onto them, okay? You'll process it. That's how you process these things. It can be the smallest experience or the biggest experience. That's how we process them. Letting things go is not an easy process. And it all starts with taking some time to sit with your thoughts, sit with your feelings, and just noticing when we feel in a certain way. I mean, honestly, one of the biggest things that assists with this is meditating. And to me, that means just sitting somewhere for 20, 30 minutes in silence. And you end up working through these thoughts and feelings, and you realize that you kind of have this replay going on in your head, and you'll notice the same thoughts that pop up. You'll go, oh yeah, I'm thinking of that thing again. That's interesting. I thought of that yesterday. So you're no longer just letting it happen to you. You're becoming a participant, right? You can choose to see it for what it is instead of latching onto it and making it who you are. The things that have happened to you don't make you who you are. It's how you respond to them, okay? What makes you who you are your actions. That's what you have control over at the end of the day. So when you think about who you want to be, how does that look to you? What life are you living? How does that person act in the world with the people around them and in their environment? I'm going to leave you with that, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Very spontaneous. And yeah, I will tune in. I'll make a video soon again. But yeah, thank you for being here and much love. I'll catch you soon. All right.